to this feast of eloquence, no doubt that both teams are going to present to us this evening. As you can see behind me, we are here gathered to see two of the greatest teams in the French Debating Association pit each other and battle with each other. And I'm sure it will be a true battle. This house believes that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from across the plateau, the team from HEC. They will be led, and I ask them to stand up in order, by the leader of the opposition, Mr. Jérémy El Khatib. Their second speaker will be Ms. Cecilia Pereira Nunes Vega. Their third speaker, Ms. Tilly Cairns. Their fourth speaker, Mr. Paul Zayn. And their whip and last official speaker of this evening's debate, Mr. Mathieu Boulestro. The government this evening is from a little known school on the plateau called the Polytechnique. Prime Minister, Mr. Marc Nègre. Second speaker, Mr. Guillaume Dubreuil. Third speaker, Mr. Grégoire Béraud. Fourth speaker, Ms. Aude Durand. Government side, Mr. Christophe Zang. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you unfamiliar with our format, and for those of you arriving late, but wanting to make an impression anyway, when they come in through the back door, everybody looks and cheers. Here they come. Familiar with our format, each speaker will speak for 6 minutes. He or she can be interrupted by points of information from the opposing side. Points of information will only take place in unprotected time, that is to say, after the first minute, and the first minute will be signaled by our charming, bellissima belle girl, Maria Giulia Di Maria. After 1 minute, you'll hear the following signal. After 5 minutes, you'll hear the following signal. Only a little bit, yes. And that means that the protected time has begun again, because the last minute of the speech is protected time. After 6 minutes, you'll hear a double signal. And that means that speakers should obviously bring their remarks to a conclusion as rapidly as possible. Points of information can be made, as I said, by the opposing team. Points of order can be made by either of the two teams during the entire debate. They are made to me, the chairman. The clock is stopped during points of order. It is not stopped, I'm sure the teams are aware of this, during the points of information. Points of order concern the running or the procedure of the debate and may be made, I repeat, at any time during the debate to me, and we stop the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, there are three very important people sitting here in the third row, beside Etienne, who obviously is an important person. And they are the members of the jury who will be making their decision this evening on the best team and also the best speaker. So in no particular order, just as I have written them down, I will ask them perhaps to stand up, and that is Mr. Saber Ben Mimoun from Paris 2. Ms. Louis Wang from USCP 2014. And the current coach of the Telecom Polytech team in the French Debating Association this year, Mr. Nathan Arthur. This is a participatory sport also for the members of the audience. So if you agree with what is being said, you make your voice very clearly heard through the following formula. Hear, hear. I'm sure you can all do it. Hear! If you disagree, we'd like to hear that voice just as much with the famous shame with the elongated central vowel. Shame! Excellent. I see the audience is in good voice. We are looking forward to a very spirited and a very fair play debate this evening. I'm sure the Polytechnique audience will show their fair play towards the visiting team who have come from And so, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the main business before us. At the end of the 10 official speakers, I'll ask the members of the jury to retire to consider the verdict. You will have the opportunity to take the floor and speak for the motion, against the motion, or on the motion, or alternatively ask questions to either of the two teams. But we are here. 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 We are here for combat. We are here for struggle. We want to see the fight. We're going to get what we're looking for, I'm sure. And with the audience's help, we will make this a memorable evening here in the Amphi Cauchy. Here. This house believes that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. I call upon our Prime Minister, the first speaker now, to take the floor to defend that motion. From the École Polytechnique, Mr. Marc Nègre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delightful Madame Belle Girl, respectable members of the opposition, dear friends from the government, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, shiny face over here, this bright look just there, puzzled expression from my dear opponent. All those glances are just like the tip of huge icebergs, the smoke of magnificent bonfires, the fantastic psht of a beer bottle. These fantastic faces hide entire lives, full of wonders, but also full of obstacles and sufferings and disappointments. Everything that shaped you as men and women. How many times did you fall before you went from cradling to walking? How many times did you fail choosing your tie before the right one finally came out? That our current strengths are built on our very struggles, all these ones which we have overcome. In other words, was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker. What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. This is what we believe, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what we are standing for tonight. First, we're not saying that you become strong. No, of course, if you've lost your hands, you will never be able to grasp this bell. Pas de bras, pas de chocolat. You become stronger than you, as an individual, were before. However, beware and suspend to quicker judgment. The new strength might belong to other aspects of your human being, moral, psychological, and after a long period of time. Second, of course, we're not considering any random day during which you'd be having breakfast for the 350th time of the year, shouting, "Oh gosh, this coffee is so good, my life's changed!" No, our motion is rooted in mankind's struggles and sufferings. Here. My colleagues and I therefore understand what does not kill you as deeply hurts you without being lethal. Third, was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker. Mich? Interestingly enough, The original German me was translated as you when it was translated from the first quotation inspired by Nietzsche. No, our government wants to go even further. Not only you as individual are strengthened by the obstacles you've coped with, but our social body itself has a huge capacity of learning from its injuries. And eventually, rejecting this truth would be denying the very reality of life's process on our planet. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, the word only in no way diminishes our stance, because in its meaning of simply, of ultimately, it only makes our stance stronger. My dear colleague Guillaume will first show you how individuals can transcend their recent weaknesses and develop new skills. Then Grégoire, our third great speaker, will then draw a parallel between one's individual wants and their social equivalent. Wars, epidemics, natural catastrophes, instead of killing our social body, aren't they making it more human, more solid, more careful? Aude will then lead you to the broadest dimension of our subject. The truth we are defending is not drafted on this chalky piece of board, nor on the blank pages of our opponents. The truth we are defending is engraved in our hearts, running through our veins. Years of illness resilience, decades of social adaptation, and centuries of natural evolution. Strengthened by our opening points, our last speaker and great whip Christophe will finally seize the growing scope of our motion and one last time summon your heart's support. Because hear me well there. On the overall, what is this motion about? No, ladies and gentlemen, this motion is not a mere theory lost in the limbo of intellectual fights. Our government believes that this motion is about putting into practice a specific stance. And more than that, it's about applying an articulate attitude. And even more than that, it's about implementing a wise way of being and thinking. Experience is only the world that is given to our mistakes, said Oscar Wilde, who was definitely on our side of the motion. You trust Oscar Wilde? Then follow him and pass this motion!
Thank you very much to the Prime Minister. I would now like to call upon the leader of the opposition, the first speaker against the motion, Mr. Jeremy El Khatib.
Mr. Chairman, elegant Mr. Timekeeper, members of the jury, blinded members of the government, dear colleagues of the opposition, honored audience of Polytechnique and brave supporters of HEC. Thank you for inviting us today. Good evening. Thank you, Mark, for your speech. But I have to admit one thing. If I were to buy into your words, I think I'd be probably shortchanged. Since you are believing that life is a one-way path, always up, always stronger, I would have expected that at one point of your speech, your hair turned yellow, raised on your head, in a blast of energy. But as in all good episode of Dragon Ball Z, we've just spent 6 minutes shouting, and we're still waiting for some action. The members of the government are not Super Saiyans, and this proves the flaw of what they want us to believe. No, what doesn't kill you does not always makes us stronger. Yes, we can be weakened, brought down, and traumatized. We are no invisible cartoon characters. We are humans. We agree on one thing though. Yes, adversity, challenges, they make us stronger. But please, ladies and gentlemen, do not fall into their trap. It doesn't only make us stronger, it doesn't always make us stronger. They are trying to blind us. No, thank you. They are trying to blind us by hiding behind things like it ultimately makes us stronger. It, after a long period of time. No, sometimes don't rise after that. Sometimes you do not get stronger.
Point of information?
Yes, please.
Would you find better, you're talking about action that I wouldn't have evoked, would you find better action than telling those crippled people that they can get stronger after their accident?
This is not what I am telling. I am telling that sometimes they can, but we have to acknowledge that sometimes they do not. Mark has tried to present the government as optimistic, as the guardians of the path to strength. This is our propaganda. We stand here today to warn you. What they are offering you today is an idea with destructive power.
Shame!
But wrapped under golden layers of hope, resilience, and progress. The government has purposely tried to blind you by downplaying the consequences of suffering. But we are here to shed a new light on those consequences. We are here to enlighten you about the real consequences of pain. Because pain, suffering, they are the cause of escaping the grasp of death. What doesn't kill you first and foremost makes you suffer. The government has purposely and shamelessly distorted Nietzsche's saying, trying to lead you astray into believing that pain, grief, and sorrow are always justified. Justified by the pain, by the strength, you will always inevitably get from that. We will show you, no thank you. We will show you today why this is ridiculously simplistic, terribly illegitimate, and highly destructive. Yes, please.
Don't you think that there's an end to suffering, and when the suffering ends, you grow stronger from the experience of this fate?
Well,
Here, here.
Here, tell that to a homeless person that has lived 20 years on the street. Thank you. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you are asked to choose the world you want to live in. Do you want a world in which twisting your necks and breaking your legs is what makes you stronger? Do you want a world in which your kids would end up torn by sorrow, traumatized and impaired for life because they would have believed that the path of pain leads to the palace of progress? Do you want a world where you're knocked down, on your knees, begging for an end? You hear the deep, cheering sound of level up. Ladies and gentlemen, the government wants you to believe that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. This is a lie, and a poisonous lie. They are using it to sell you progress, but watch out. You will only buy pain. No, thank you. Do not let them suffocate you under the veil of ignorance. They ignore the reality of pain. They ignore its consequences. They ignore how inhuman and unhuman it is.
Shame.
So let us stand tonight as no thank you. So let us stand tonight as your protectors and as members of the team tasked here today to keep you away from such destructive idea. Cecilia. Well, no, thank you. I'm introducing people. Cecilia will show you how believing in this motion means you are granting yourself the illegitimate right to judge what you will never know anything about, one's own and deeply personal suffering. Following, no, thank you. Following, Tilly will try to make the government, to take the government out of their illusion that what we are living in is a world of superheroes, of daredevils, blinded, impaired, but always rising and always stronger. She will show you that only the strong buy into this motion and that the weak are left alone, isolated, and ignored. Paul will then demonstrate the social dangers of such mantra, showing you that pain should not be glorified, or you will take away what makes us always avoid it. He will show you how putting suffering on a stalemate only leads us to yearn for it, falling into a vicious spiral of self-destruction. Finally, Matthew will hammer down the final nail on your coffin. But don't worry, Matthew is nice. He won't put you in that coffin. He won't even kill you, just to let you figure out by yourself if you get stronger out of that. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I beg you not to buy the government's words. They are destructive, illogical, and most importantly, inhuman. Through their words, the government are devising our demise. They are the engineers of our end. So tonight, I beg you to make the right choice and to reject their motion. Thank you.
Thank you to the Leader of the Opposition. May I now call upon the second speaker from the government side, Mr. Guillaume Dubreuil.
Honorable Chairman, scrumptious Belger, dear friends of the government, esteemed yet mistaken members of the opposition, dear members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen. Many centuries ago, Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Indeed, men and women have the wonderful ability to decide they want to go on, no matter what troubles they have been through, no matter how deeply they have been hurt, no matter how many ignorant people try to tell them they have been weakened forever. Ladies and gentlemen, the government cannot let the opposition say that, quoting, "Sometimes you cannot grow stronger after some troubles," or that we are glorifying pain. How can Mr. El Khatib give us such a simplistic view of the problem? We need to structure the debate in order to move on. As was mentioned by our Prime Minister Marc, we will discuss the motion on 3 different scales. First of all, individually, then socially, and planetarily. Let me focus on the individual part. First of all, the power of your mind allows you to overcome the troubles you are faced with. Secondly, accepting your own weakness makes you less easily affected by troubles. No, thank you, sir. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will, a permanent attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not denying that many troubles can be really painful. We are certainly not denying that physical injuries can need some time to heal. We are definitely not denying that psychological injuries reminds us of our weaknesses. But we are strongly asserting that men and women are able to overcome the difficulties because the power of their mind is stronger than the troubles they face. Scars can become stars.
Hear, hear.
Let us take the example of illnesses. For example, cancer. You can choose to look at it in 2 different ways. You can choose the way that has just been depicted by the opposition. A way of sadness, pessimism, and hopelessness. In that world, even if you heal, you are definitely weakened and you cannot find strength anymore. We don't want to live in such a world. And I can already hear members of the opposition saying that we have a childish point of view and stigmatizing our position. Ladies and gentlemen, of course we do not assert that you are directly stronger in all fields.
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
So then you're agreeing with the fact that what doesn't kill you doesn't make you stronger.
No, because we are saying, what we say is just common sense. And I'm sure all of you have already been confronted to such a situation where the power of your mind helps you during an illness and makes you stronger towards difficulties later on. This leads me to the second point. Accepting your own weakness makes you less easily affected by other troubles. In that way, it makes you stronger. What was your point, Mr. President?
How about depression when you fall into a vicious spiral that you blind yourself and you cannot acknowledge your own weaknesses?
We are not saying that you always need to acknowledge your own weaknesses. We're just saying that sometimes you have to accept them. And this is especially true for psychological injuries. For example, success, ladies and gentlemen, is achieved by developing your strengths, not by eliminating your weaknesses. Thus, no, thank you. Thus, identifying and accepting your weakness is the first step to grow stronger. In case of psychological problems, we all know it is very important to accept the weakness because it leads to a stronger will and thus gives us a better ability to face troubles and finally heal. Yes, sir.
Do you think it's always possible to accept your weaknesses?
I hope you should do so, and maybe, Mr. El-Hatib, you mistake us for fools if you think that we have a naive and outdated point of view about the question. We are absolutely not saying that sometimes you shouldn't accept your weaknesses. We are precisely saying that you have to accept them. Because, as I said, but maybe you weren't listening, success is achieved by developing your strengths, not by eliminating your weaknesses. Ms. Pereira, Ms. Kearns, Mr. Zain, Mr. Boulestro, you really must take us for fools. If you think we have a childish view of the situation, yes, what does not kill us only makes us stronger on an individual point of view, but also a social and planetary one, as will demonstrate my colleagues Grégoire and Aude. Dear members of the opposition, please broaden your perspectives and listen to the youngest Nobel Prize in the world, Malala Yousafzai, who declared after being shot by Talibans, "The terrorists thought they would change my aims and stop my ambitions, but nothing changed in my life except this: weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage were born. They did not kill her, ladies and gentlemen. They only made her stronger."
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Moving on, may I now call on the second speaker from the opposition side, Ms. Cecilia Pereira Nunes Vega.
Mr. Chairman, honorable